Hi everyone, welcome to the CMAT Innovation and Entrepreneurship series. This is episode 4. Let's have a look at today's questions. The first one. The theory explaining how new ideas and technologies spread through a population is attributed to an interesting question for the simple reason that the 4 names that you see here might sound very alien to you. Let's look at them one at a time. Joseph Schumpeter, Everett Rogers, Peter Drucker, and Frederick Taylor. If you haven't had a chance to have a management subject in your curriculum, these may all sound very new, and that's okay. My suggestion is, after you're done with this video, go back to each single question, go to the options that were not correct, and read on them as well. Joseph Schumpeter was an economist. Everett Rogers is an American sociologist. Peter Drucker was a management guru. Some people might have already read about him. And Frederick Taylor has his own principles of scientific management. Here, new ideas and technologies spread through a population is a concept that is popular because of Everett Rogers, the American sociologist. You will have to read up on all these 4 to be able to understand why A or C or D are not the correct answers and what was their contribution to the field of management, right? Let's go to the next question. The practice of identifying best performing organizations and learning from their methods is known as learning. Organizations is going to be the key word here for the simple reason that this is a built organization. Continuous improvement is going to be a good answer. Outsourcing is going to be a good answer. But remember, learning happens only when you have something to look up to. And that concept is benchmarking. Continuous improvement is the outcome that you're looking for. This concept of trying to copy the best practices from other companies, your peers, your colleagues, or your competition as well, is going to be referred to as benchmarking. The next question. Arrange the following stages of project approval in the correct order. Be careful. There are 2 ways of solving this. 1, you decide the whole order and then pick a choice. Or if you do not understand all the concepts, what you can do is you pick any 2, define which one should ideally appear first, go to the choices and see if you can eliminate some of them. For example, idea generation seems to be the one that will precede everything else. Prototype is something that will happen once you've defined what the product is going to be, what the idea is going to be, how big it is going to be. Detailed project evaluation, not the first step, right? Project specific factor assessment. Project specific, not at the beginning. We are still going to go with idea generation as the first one. Preliminary feasibility study. Yes. But of what? The point is, ideas come before a study happens. So C has to be the first statement in this order. If you see the choices carefully, you might realize that it's only this that works. Currently, because we are trying to understand concepts, it is important to see that the order that you've chosen, C, D, E, A, B, is correct. However, during the exam, when you have finalized one option, because you realize that one statement is going to be good enough, you are suggested, it is going to be predicted then that because of lack of time, you may not have the feasibility, as the question says, to go through all the choices. So what we do is we pick the option and we move on. Because this is the class, let's have a look. C is followed by D, project specific factor assessment. Will you be able to conduct the business? E, preliminary study. Yes, will the business be feasible? Then I look at A, which is detailed project evaluation. Should I go ahead? I think I should. The idea looks all right. The factors are all right. It looks feasible. Should I go ahead with the project? I will need the production or I will need servicing capabilities. And then of course you come up with a sample of the product that you're trying to offer, which will be called a prototype, right? So B happens to be a Good choice. Which of the following best characterizes low-end disruptive innovation? In the previous video, we saw a question that talked about high-end customers sustaining innovation. Remember, low-end disruptive innovation will be for people who will not be able to purchase very high-cost products. So we will have to look for a choice that talks about affordability or low prices. When you look at the given choices, it is not too big a deal to pick delivering simple products at significantly lower costs. Right? The next question. The correct sequence of stages in the design thinking process is, again, two strategies. One, you can define the order, then go to the choices. Or you can just look at any two, define which one should come first, go to the options and pick one or eliminate some. Empathize is to try and understand what it feels like to be a customer and hence what you would want, which is going to be the step before you define what the product is going to be, which is obviously true. So empathize has to appear before define. Here, I need to understand that A has to appear before B. A appears before B, not in this case. A appears before B, yes. A appears before B, yes. And A appears before B, no. At this stage, one smart thing to do, if you do get stuck at all, is look at the two given choices, look at the differences, pick one that is the exact opposite if there is one, and then make a choice. That's the smart way to go about it. Have a look, D followed by E or E followed by D. I have found this by chance. You may find something else and that's okay. D and E, prototype and test. You will obviously need a product before you will test it. So the prototype will appear before the test happens. This is the way to go. The next question. The word entrepreneur comes from the language, and this is not too difficult to pick. If you read about entrepreneurship, the very definition, the etymology of it should have told you that this is a word that comes from the French language, right? The next question. Once more, identify the correct sequence of conventional startup funding stages. The same strategy. Initial public offering, mezzanine financing. Public offering is something that appears last because there is no more financing needed after that stage. So if there is something that I should stop at or cannot go beyond, it is A. A has to be the last element. 1, 2, 3, 4. The creator of the question is smart. That doesn't help. Mezzanine financing, venture capital funding. Mezzanine financing is a mix of funds coming from equity sources and debt sources, which is going to happen before the initial public offering, but after somebody has already invested. In the first two videos, we had talked about the concept of venture capitalists. These are people who, on the behalf of a company, will come and invest in new businesses, assuming that the business is going to do well and they will make a lot of money out of it. The returns are supposed to be high over the long run. This will happen before mezzanine financing happens because this is more large scale as compared to venture capital. This is one source, these are many. So B has to appear after C. Let's check. That's a failure, it doesn't work. And then I realized that even before B, we have C given. If C is at a distance, we will have to see what appears between these two. And there is nothing really because seed capital, if you remember the concept of bootstrapping, seed capital is the first amount of money that the investor, that the entrepreneur puts in from his or her own pockets. So this is the first thing that we need. Nothing is going to precede seed capital. Angel investment, it is a nice person, it's a human being who is interested in investing in your business. He or she may or may not want returns. This is only to help the business grow. This is going to appear after the seed capital happens. Now, if that is true, I have my answer ready. And that is E, D, I go EC here, so I have to go E, D, C, B, A. We already knew that A, B, C is going to be the last three in the reverse order, of course. So this seed capital followed by angel investment, venture capitalist firms, mezzanine, which is a combination of debt and equity funding, and then initial public offering. We pick A as the correct choice. While conducting market feasibility analysis, feasibility is a concept that we've been looking at since the first episode. So keep extra attention on this. You might need to read more than you have. The most critical factor to assess first. Keep in mind, when I have the word most, it means the others are also important. You have to understand that all of these might work. You have to pick the one that is the best. Availability of sales personnel. Do you want people to sell? Yes. Sources of marketing finance? Yes, of course, the funding is important. Size and attractiveness of the target market. This is a lot more important than anything else. We had a similar question in the third video as well. If you pay attention, you will know that this is the primary factor. Marketing finance may not be important because the money may come from your own pockets or an angel investor. Availability of sales personnel will be required at a later stage, only if you are delivering products, not services. Market leadership potential, that's something for later. You're not thinking of leading the market initially. So this is the one that we look at when we look at a market feasibility analysis. Not that the others are not important, but we were looking for the term most, right? Family-owned businesses always prefer to transfer leadership to the next generation. That's my favorite question because it can be answered really easily. But pause. Remember the term extreme words? These are not going to be used in answers to questions like these. Family-owned businesses prefer to transfer leadership to the next generation. Yes. Always. Not really. So this is going to make it an extreme term, and because it is an extreme term, the Tatas are a good example, is going to make this an untrue statement. A large number of startups emerge from established family business backgrounds. Don't get too emotional about this. This is not saying all startups. This is saying a good number of, and that's true. A large number of startups do come from people who have well-established family backgrounds, business backgrounds. And that's true because it is easier for them to start new businesses. So this is going to work. It's a large number, not all. Had it said all, we would have said no. So the second one is a yes. The first one is a no. Option 4. Venture capital firms are commonly structured as limited partnerships. Yes. These are people coming together to form firms so that they can finance other businesses. Remember, the intention is high returns in low time frames, small time frames. Venture capitalists manage pooled equity capital and invest in high risk ventures. I was talking about this to generate superior returns. That's the very aim a venture capitalist has. Both of them are true. Option 4 is the way to go. That is something that I had said in video number 2. These options keep moving around. Don't memorize these options when you go for the exam. I'm saying option number 1 that you see here might end up being option 3 in another question. So keep that in mind. Have a careful look, especially after you've done all the hard work of thinking, right? Rapid urbanization creates opportunities for innovation and new business models. Yes, because if rapid urbanization is happening, more people move to the cities, and of course you'll need more companies and more products, and new business models will be needed. Urbanization poses challenges due to population pressure and infrastructure stress. Yes, that is why you will need this. Both of them are interconnected. Both of them work really well. Both are true. They go hand in hand. Nascent. If you understand the term nascent, you will know it is something that is new. that has just started off. Has already established? No. Is actively engaged in setting up a new business? New is the key word here. Inherits, not something that you start, and manages a family business. Nascent? New? No. Not really appropriate. Has completed formal training in entrepreneurship. Is there formal training? Probably yes. Does it make that person a nascent entrepreneur? Not necessarily. May or may not be. This is definitely true. Best described. So the other options are fair. We have to choose the one that is the best. Which of the following are valid reasons for failure of entrepreneurial ventures? There could be many. Inadequate market understanding. Yes, that's correct. Wait, don't mark. For the simple reason that the choices contain multiple statements. So, inadequate market understanding is a yes. Weak financial discipline, I think that applies everywhere, at any age, for any profession. Ineffective managerial capability. Yes, you may not be able to handle a business. You may not be able to become a good manager. That might just help the business fail. So this is also valid. Social background of the entrepreneur? Not really. This is not going to contribute. It is the way a person manages a business that is going to ultimately decide what the fate is going to be. And of course, the feasibility study also matters. This is not available to us. A, B, and C. The combination is a fair choice. Buying and selling finished goods without significant value addition. Without value addition. That's the key term. Drone entrepreneur. Previous video, same term. A drone entrepreneur is somebody who is rigid and refuses to move with the times. This is a rigid person. A portfolio entrepreneur, again, video number 2, video number 3. Portfolio entrepreneur is somebody who handles multiple businesses, takes care of multiple new businesses at the same time. There was a serial entrepreneur who takes care of one business at a time, one after the other. That was different. Trading entrepreneur, who is a trader, somebody who buys and then sells. This is somebody who doesn't want to change anything in the business. This is the one who will not create any addition of value. So this is the choice to go with. Novice is somebody who is new. This is not going to be somebody who doesn't add value. It is a novice entrepreneur who would be expected to add some value. Otherwise, starting a business may not make sense. Multiple government bodies and financial institutions actively promote entrepreneurship. Yes. Why? Creating a supportive entrepreneurial ecosystem is a key policy objective of the government. You want people to prosper. You want the GDP to rise. This is going to be a good way to do it. So this is happening precisely because they want this to happen. So A is fair, R is correct, and R explains A very well. We pick both A and R are true, and R explains A. That ends today's video. I would like you to pay attention to this. These are only 4 videos that we've done, and these are only 60 questions. The idea is to tell you that these are the concepts you may need to go through, but that doesn't mean that these questions are exhaustive. The list is going to be a never-ending list. So my suggestion is keep reading, keep getting into new terms, and terms that you've seen here but haven't understood properly, or choices that we haven't really made, the options that we rejected, those also might be the correct answers to other questions. My suggestion is read about them. All the best to you.